Welcome to another edition of Salesforce Revenue Cloud Office Hours. My name is John Garvins. I'm the owner and principal architect at Garvins Consulting, a Salesforce consulting firm that specializes in Salesforce Revenue Cloud. In last week's episode, I discussed annual recurring revenue or annual contract value and monthly recurring revenue or monthly contract value, and how those amounts can help us understand how much recurring revenue will this quote generate per month, and how much revenue could we expect this quote to generate and its ensuing contract to generate per year. I built a price rule and some fields to capture the ARR and the MRR, and then I was able to calculate the value of those fields and display them on the quote. What I want to discuss this week is how we can take that information and other information from the quote and the quote lines and pass it downstream to other related objects for further insights into the different parts of our sales processes. We're going to start on an opportunity in my sandbox org. This opportunity has been created for Edge Communications from the Sean Forbes contact record, which is why he's automatically been added to the contact roles. And I will create a new quote for this opportunity. I'll populate some of the basic fields: primary, opportunity, account. I won't worry about anything else at this point. That's all I need. Most of the times in a CPQ implementation, we will use a quick action to populate all of those things. It makes it a little bit easier and saves the rep some time. Other information, as usual, has been populated because I was the owner of the quote. Sales rep is populated with me. You could change that to somebody else if you wanted to. The primary contact is pulling from the primary contact and the contact roles on the opportunity itself. We have other information populated, the bill to, ship to, state, postal code, etc. could be populated from there. It didn't map exactly right, but it's close enough for what we're doing on this. I'm going to add now 2 subscription products. I'm not going to worry about the peanut butter and jelly sandwich in this example. I'm going to start with the peanut butter and jelly support and the peanut butter and jelly club membership, because those are my 2 subscription products. I'll choose my price book and begin adding products. Because it's a subscription, I'll add some start and end dates, but I'll wait for a moment until I add my subscription products. You could do that in either order. It doesn't matter. If I do not populate a start date or a subscription term, CPQ is going to assume this is for a 1-month period of time. And the month is based on the subscription term unit field in the managed package itself. As soon as I start to populate values, though, these numbers are going to change. My opportunity close date is March 31st, 2024. I'll have my contract start on April 1st of 2024. I need to define 2 values at all times when I have subscription products. I need to tell CPQ when the subscriptions will begin and when the subscriptions will end. In this case, I will create a 12-month contract for both of these products, and we'll see once I hit calculate that they are priced differently. The first line, peanut butter and jelly club membership, is $10 per month. I have 1 membership, and this is for a year, 12 months, again, from the subscription term unit field in the managed package itself. And this is then for $120. $10, 12 months, $120. Meanwhile, the $10 peanut butter and jelly support is $10 per year. I can see that here. If I changed the subscription term to 6, we would see proration take effect, and I would have $60 for the PB&J Club membership, and I would have $5 for the support. Similarly, if I went to 18 months and hit calculate, CPQ would prorate this for me. I'll use this 18 as an example here. Behind the scenes, my price rule is running and it is calculating the annual recurring revenue and the monthly recurring revenue for these products. Just to make things more interesting, let's go ahead and set the quantity of this to 5, and I'll leave the quantity of support to 1, because what I want to show on the quote line records themselves is that annual recurring revenue and the monthly recurring revenue calculations are for the quantity of this thing for only 1 month in the case of MRR, or for 1 year in the case of ARR. Once I save, the calculation sequence runs, my price rule executes. After the price waterfall, everything has been calculated. Let's dissect the quote lines now to get a better understanding of how this looks. I open my quote lines for these two products, and I can see from here that 5 Peanut Butter Jelly Club memberships will have a monthly recurring revenue of $50 and an annual recurring revenue of $600. Keep in mind that my actual subscription term is for 18 months, which is why the total is $900. So $600, that's for 12 months. $900 is for 18 months. On a monthly basis, I can expect this to generate $50. This then becomes quite valuable to SaaS-based companies or subscription-based businesses, venture capital firms and private equity firms, publicly investors in general look to these numbers to have a better understanding of how this business is performing. When they're looking to make an acquisition, they want to know how much money is this business bringing in on a monthly basis, how much is it going to bring in on an annual basis. We're calculating this at the quote line level. Similarly, if I go to the peanut butter and jelly support, I see that the monthly recurring revenue is 0.83. Really, that is 0.83333333 because we're using US dollars. We have 2 decimal places. 8.33 rounds down to 8.3. That's where that number comes from. And then our annual recurring revenue is $10. But because it's 18 months, again, our list total and the other total fields will be for 18 months, not for 12. So remember, monthly recurring revenue and annual recurring revenue, those are for those periods of time only for the total quantity of licenses or subscriptions that I have. Both of these fields are regular currency fields. They are not formulas. And the reason is because I want to roll this information up to the quote level. And I can only roll it up if it's an actual currency field, because formula fields cannot be part of rollup summary fields. That is core Salesforce functionality. And I will demonstrate that now. If we find a formula field like list amount or regular amount, there are corresponding fields in the quote line: list total, regular total. When I create my rollup summary fields now for my MRR and my ARR, I will not see list total or regular total because those are formula fields calculated on the quote line. I will, however, see monthly recurring revenue and annual recurring revenue. To make my rollup summaries on the quote, I will go to the fields and relationships on the quote object, select new, rollup summary. Remember, you can have 25 rollup summary fields per object. If you need more than that, you can throw more money at Salesforce, or you can use other means to do so. But be careful. If you use something like rollup helper, which is incredibly common, a lot of administrators run into SOQL query limits and other timeout issues because they are building a bigger transaction than they realize. I will create a field. Monthly recurring revenue is the first. The summarized object will be the quote line, and I will sum field to aggregate. And again, here I will not see my formula fields, or I guess I see list total here. So maybe I was I was wrong in that you could try to do that, or maybe it's not actually maybe that's actually calculated with and injected with as a editable field. I don't remember. Whatever. I don't remember everything about this product, but I'm going to sum the monthly recurring revenue fields. All records should be included in the calculation, and then I'll click next. And next. And save and new. Then I will create another rollup summary field for annual recurring revenue. Next. Sum quote lines. We will sum annual recurring revenue. Next. Next. Save. Back to my page layouts. I'll try to keep this separate and make it distinct. Oh, let's add a section here. I'll call it recurring revenue, 2 columns, and I'll do annual recurring revenue and monthly. And let's move, let's put monthly over here. There we go. Once I navigate back to my quote object, I'll refresh. There we go. Now I can see what the recurring revenue is for this quote. If you wanted, you can move the section around, do whatever you want. This is high priority information, so maybe we move it up to here. That sounds good, close enough. Standard functionality, roll-up summary fields on a currency field, that's where we end up. Now, I want to talk about another important concept in CPQ, and in my opinion, is one of the most underrated capabilities of the CPQ product, and that is the twin field function. If we look for CPQ twin fields, mapping of custom fields between objects in CPQ, there are several objects in CPQ where we can pass values from one object to another during a transaction without writing a single line of code, without writing a flow, without any triggers. This is highly underrated and underutilized in the CPQ world. And as a result, or it's unknown to a lot of people, especially if they're new to CPQ. And then what they end up doing is they build stuff that doesn't need to be built in the first place because they don't understand what the product can do out of the box. Here's my business requirement. My business requirement is that I have some users who don't need access to quotes. Maybe they're a more functional user. Maybe they're high level. Maybe it's the CEO of the business. The CEO of the business doesn't need to look at quote records. What they do need to know is what is the total amount of their opportunity? What is the annual recurring revenue of their opportunity? What is the monthly recurring revenue on the opportunity? Perhaps what's the non-recurring revenue of their opportunity, et cetera. So we're saving a little bit of money on the license. They don't need access to the quote object anyway. They're not actually going to use it, but they do need access to the opportunity, even if that's only to see reports and dashboards, which is very common. Once you get to an executive level, you need reports and dashboards. Most of those are going to be built off of the opportunity. So we need to find a way to get this valuable data over to the opportunity. But I don't want to write code to do it. What can I do? We can use twin fields. My goal through this exercise will be to get that annual recurring revenue and monthly recurring revenue from the quote lines to the opportunity products so I can display it on the opportunity. I'm not going to map anything or use a flow to update opportunity fields that I create. No, I'm going to create 2 fields, annual recurring revenue and monthly recurring revenue on the opportunity product object. I will ensure that those field API names are an exact match and the data type of the field is an exact match to those found on the quote line. Then when the primary quote syncs with the opportunity, that data in those fields on the quote line will push automatically to the opportunity products. And because there's a master detail relationship between the opportunity products and the opportunity, I can use a roll-up summary field here as well and create a roll-up summary on the opportunity for these things. Let's begin. I navigate to the opportunity product object. Key point, it is the opportunity product object. It serves as a junction between an opportunity and a product. And cleverly, it's called opportunity product. Salesforce got really creative with this. You'll notice, though, that the actual object name is opportunity line item, which is confusing, but so it goes. What I'm going to do is create two fields here, currency fields, just like I did on the quote line, for these ARR and MRR values. From the opportunity product object in the object manager of the setup, I will create a currency field. Annual recurring revenue. I used 16 and 2 as my values. If you're not sure, go back to the quote line and make sure that your field names are the same, because the field names drive the API names, and the API names are what drive the twin field function. And next, and next, and I will save and new. Obviously, you may choose different field level security. You may want to manage your field level security in permission sets rather than profiles. Those are all sorts of other considerations that you can take care of on your own. Because this is a sandbox that nobody's ever going to use, I'm going to do this the easy way and update the profiles. Monthly recurring revenue, again, 16 and 2 are the two values. I click next, next, and save. Now, when we go back to our opportunity product record, I will see the two new fields added to this page layout. Here they are. Just because I am big on user experience and user interface, I'm going to clean this up a little bit. I'll add the same section here called recurring revenue. I like things going top down instead of left right. We'll put the fields in the same order. Again, user experience is really important. Line descriptions, I really don't care about line descriptions. I also don't care about, well, let's also get this in a more sensical way. Let's see this. We'll get that. Price times quantity gets us the total price. Product code, list price. Okay, date. I really don't care about the date either. Fantastic. I'm going to do list price here. Great. Now I got a little bit of a price waterfall. I've got information about my opportunity and my product, and I have my recurring. Fantastic. I save and refresh. Page layout looks a little cleaner now. I think it looks better. You might disagree. Do whatever you want with your org. It's up to you. Now I need my roll-up summary fields on my opportunity. But you'll notice there's no value in here yet. And the reason there's no value is because Salesforce doesn't go backwards and it's not going to retroactively populate this data. I will need to resync my primary quote with my opportunity products in order to update these things. Before I worry about that, though, I will finish the process on the opportunity, navigate it to the opportunity, edit the object, go to fields and relationships. And again, I will add two roll-up summary fields, which I can use here because I have currency fields on the child object of the master detail relationship. Next, we will sum the opportunity product, annual recurring revenue. Next. Next. Save and new. create another rollup. Now, in this case, because it's rollup summary, if you wanted to use MRR or ARR, it won't matter as far as the ability to get to the data. Because the twin field function is not being used with the rollup summary. The twin field function is used at the line level to pull from the opportunity, from the quote line to the opportunity product. I have now created those rollup summary fields for my opportunity. If I wanted, I could start to add those fields up here to the top. Maybe I take care of that while I'm at it. From my opportunity, and my compact layouts. These are the fields that I see on the top of my opportunity, I think. Is that right? I don't know. You could update those if you want. CPQ, page layout, and then, oh, it's inherited from global publisher. I'm not going to worry about it. Forget my rambling. I don't have time to worry about that right now. I have other things to do. But we can roll those up. I do see monthly recurring revenue, annual recurring revenue here. I will go ahead and update this page layout really quick to create another recurring revenue section. From the CPQ page layout, scroll down, added a section. I'll call this recurring revenue, top down. Okay, pull this over here, pull this over here. All right, quick save. Let's take a look at the page layout. It looks good. Now let's go back to our primary quote. I will edit the lines and save. When I go back to my opportunity, I should see my ARR and my MRR are populated. They are populated because when you save a primary quote, calculation sequence will run, the record will save, and when that record saves, the synchronization process is triggered. The synchronization process pushes opportunity products or adds opportunity products to the opportunity. The twin field function carries the annual recurring revenue and the monthly recurring revenue from the quote line to this opportunity product record, which if you wanted to see the quote line on the opportunity product record, you could do that as well. Go to the page layout for the opportunity product. And then up here, you can see here is your quote line. Let's pull that into here. Save. Now we refresh. So if you're trying to test things and make things a little easier on yourself, go ahead and add this quote line lookup to the opportunity product. Now I can go back to the quote line that created the opportunity product. I can check the unit prices. I can check the totals. I can check monthly and annual recurring revenue. You know, to be consistent, I should probably update this page layout as well. Why not? Consistency matters, folks. When you're designing, too many people will make something work functionally and say, well, it works. Okay, it works technically, but does it work intellectually? Does it work psychologically? Remember that we're dealing with people. We're dealing with people who are in too many meetings. They're frazzled, they're frustrated. They probably have too much stuff to update in Salesforce. The last thing they need is to be hunting and pecking and looking for everything because they can't find it easily. Let's make their lives easier, which is going to make our lives easier. and keep things intuitive. There we go. Now I see annual recurring revenue. I see monthly recurring revenue for the peanut butter and jelly sandwich on this quote. The quote itself has annual recurring revenue, monthly recurring revenue. When I go to my opportunity shows that I have annual recurring revenue and monthly recurring revenue. These values roll up from the opportunity products. The opportunity products got their values via the twin field functionality in CPQ that pulls from the quote line to the opportunity product. And that is how you can use twin fields. Now, if you wanted to go above and beyond, there are other objects that we can use twin fields on as well. Those objects are you can pass data from the quote line to the opportunity product. You could pass from the quote line to the asset, from the quote line to the subscription, from the subscription to the quote line, from the quote to the order, from the invoice to the invoice, or from the order product to the invoice line. There's all sorts of places that you can pass this data and to give more color to the state of things. Something to keep in mind, though, is that if you're trying to roll things up on the contract and the subscriptions, remember that the relationship between the contract and the subscriptions is a lookup. It is not a master detail. So the master detail will not work for your contract rollup. But that's where we can start to do other things. You could use you can embed a widget or something into the page layout of the contract so that when a user looks at the contract, they can see what the active ARR is for that contract. We can get into that in a future session. But for today, I thought I would keep it short and sweet, show a quick example of how we can use twin fields to pass data up and downstream using CPQ native functionality. One other twin field that's overlooked is from the product to the quote line. That's a lot of times where it starts. If there's an attribute on the product that you want to pass downstream, maybe it's the color of the product, maybe it's the material, whatever, you can use that on the product record. Maybe that data point doesn't really change. It's your reference data. And so once I set it, I just want to pass that to the quote line, to the opportunity product, to the order product, to the subscription, to the asset, to the invoice line. We can use twin fields for all of that as long as the field API names are an exact match between those objects and the data type is the same between those objects. And we don't have to write a single line of code. All you have to do is create the fields and CPQ will take care of the rest. That's all I have for you this week. I hope you enjoyed this quick session on annual recurring revenue and the use of twin fields in CPQ, and I will see you again soon.